Chairperson, I'd like to introduce Mr. Selwyn Krepp, who is a shareholder.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair. I'd like to pick up on a couple of your opening remarks, which will lead into my opposition to the grant of securities to Matt Common. The opening remark was that you mentioned the word trust. Trust to me encases honesty, integrity, professionalism and delivery. Unfortunately, myself and a number of my colleagues have not received that. So, as it stands today, you haven't sold the word or product trust to me. Leading on, you made mention in your opening speech a different way in which you handle customer complaints. I'd like you to expand on that. In doing so, I'd like to give you a little bit of history. I've had concerns as a shareholder and borrower that you've turned me into a bank victim. What I've got here today, once again, I bring to the AGM a folder of totally and incomplete answered correspondence. Last year I had the pleasure of presenting one to you and also to Comyn Schuper. Today I've got another one. I'd like you to nominate the person I can give it to, because I've found at the moment, whilst I've had a file and met with Matt on 2 occasions, he's now handballed my file to an inferior staff member who's unable to correspond with me. For what reasons, I don't know.
So, Mr. Krepp, can I just say on that point that we are, I'm very aware of your case, and yes, we have met at the previous AGM, and I don't know whether, Matt, you want to make a comment.
Before you do, Matt, I'd like to continue, not to be rude to you.
No, but I just feel we should perhaps respond to your
No, I've got the floor. I'd like to continue. In doing so, it would be hypocritical for me to my family, my crimeless victim son, my 2 grandsons, to not oppose, Matt, the granting of additional securities. You haven't delivered to me. Madam Chair, you haven't delivered to me. Your former GM, Catherine Fitzpatrick, she hasn't delivered to me. Your case manager of sensitive matters, Damon Hyder, he hasn't delivered to me. Therefore, whilst I don't want to sound like I'm being personal, it's commercial. I couldn't come to this meeting, not stand up and oppose the granting of securities when 1, you haven't sold me trust, 2, you're managing complaints in a different way that I don't know about, and I'm here today looking for answers. Matt, I invite you to respond.
So, Mr. Krepp, and just in terms of your question as to how we have changed our customer complaints process, I think as Matt might have mentioned, it now reports directly to the Deputy CEO, and it is, in terms of its processes and the number of people involved, both have been significantly improved, as has the reporting to the board, as I've mentioned earlier.
I'd like to be the judge of that as to the improvement. Matt, I've asked you at one stage for a scorecard so I could rate you. You haven't provided. I asked Catherine Fitzpatrick for a scorecard so I could rate her. She didn't provide it. I've done the same with Damon Hyder, scorecards so I could rate them. I need to share that information with you. If you had shared it with me, I could have done my reports. I wouldn't need to stand here today. Because amongst this file here, and ideally I'd like to know whether myself, my family, and other of my colleagues are at risk counterparties to the bank bill swap rate activities which occurred in 2010, 2011 and 2012. A question I've asked on multiple occasions, and I am refused or denied, probably is the word I should use, a response. So where's the trust come in?
Excuse me, Mr. Krepp, as you know, we've met several times, and I've personally been through your file in detail. I've seen the reviews that have been done internally. We also commissioned an external review, which was done outside the organisation. I recognise you might not be happy with the results of that. I'm certainly happy to receive any more correspondence from you after the meeting.
Thank you, Matt. You've quoted having done an external review. An external review to me would be the equivalent of an independent report. Would you agree to that?
Yes, in this case, yes.
Therefore, if it's an independent report, why haven't I received a copy of it?
Well, as it relates to your matter, Mr. Krepp, each of the various assertions or allegations that you've put forward have been responded to in full, drawing on the work that was done externally. It's been reinforced. As you said, this matter has been open for, regrettably, almost a decade and relates back to a lot of that conduct. We've been through all of the records. I believe a lot of those records have been shared with you. As the Chair mentioned, I'm very familiar with your case. If you still believe there is documentation that we haven't reviewed, I'm personally happy to receive it from you straight after the meeting.
Matt, you're aware. I have written you 12 emails this year. Not one of them have you said, thank you, Selwyn. You don't, that's all you got to do, acknowledge it. Hasn't been acknowledged or responded to. The fact remains, you've done an external report, you won't provide me the findings. I ask why, and if you won't provide the findings, then I'm going to have to make a complaint to the Office of Australian Information Commission, whereby you have released my personal information and details, breached my confidentiality without my explicit authorisation.
Thank you, Mr. Krepp. I think, as Matt said, if there's more information that he should receive, please provide it to him and perhaps meet with him after the meeting. But this is an individual matter at the moment.
Madam Chairman,
we need to get on with the
you have to provide the
meeting.
information to me, the bank.
Thank you, Mr. Krepp. I think you've made your point.
Excellent.